Hello and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Monday, February 22nd, 2021, and today's topic is called Sky Rides. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening between February 12th and the 18th, 2021. And before we get into those observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, hao, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, tien dobre, konnichiwa, dobrohonya, annyeonghaseyo, Boataji, Doviden, Aloha Winala, Kalimera, and Hudendag. And today's starter image is just of a nice cake from Valentine's Day, and it has some nice icing rosebuds decorating it. Alright, now we're going to get into the first sky observation, and before we even go there, I'd like to say a big heartfelt thanks and welcome if you're new or returning to the channel. Good to have you here. And if you are new, I refer to things going forward as original photos or enhanced photos. And when I say enhanced, I simply mean I've edited attributes of the photos, such as color saturation, contrast, brightness, things of that nature, just to better highlight and draw out certain aspects of the photos, areas of interest that we're going to be looking at. So let's get going with this as an example. We just noticed I noticed some strange activity, kind of just happening locally on the spot, and you can't really call that a typical cloud of any type. There's a lot of different movement and motion happening here, and when we put enhancement on it, we even see a striking color signature differential happening between whatever's going on here and, the kind of at the horizon line beyond. Now keep in mind we're looking opposite of where the sunrise is happening at 6:57 in the morning, so we're looking toward the northwest. And here we see golden activity, but then this warm signature of rust color here, reddish color. And we even see something that looks like a sphere, the top of a sphere happening beyond, that's being veiled and washed out by whatever this whiteness is. So we've got gold, and then this white swath, we've got red pink, and then this reddish signature happening here, so it's all very bizarre. Now, I put in cloud in quotes on the title, and you're going to see that moving forward through the whole show, because it's clear this is just more than just some kind of cloud activity, and again, how it's forming locally on the spot is very strange. But also, look at my cursor. See this movement? It moves up on an angle, banks on the opposite angle, and then this thing kind of echoes it, and this is going, arcing this way, this is arcing the opposing way. Just, there's a lot of strange stuff happening in here. And so when I say cloud in quotes, I'm referring to something is more than likely cloaking. Now, when I talk about a cloaking craft, I mean something that's very tangible, tactile, you could touch it, knock on it, it's very 3D. But it could also be something interdimensional, which is more phantom-like. Or it could be something 3D that's phasing in and out of state. So that's what I'm going to be referring to going forward if you hear me talking about cloaking craft. Alright, now here's an example that we'll get to it, what could be going on in here. So we are looking at this in South Florida. For decades past, living on this planet, I'm noticing a lot of anomalies and things that don't normally occur in nature, in the cloud systems, and in the skies. This is one of those examples. So if we're talking about cumulus cloud being the normal cloud activity of this area, this is not it. So cumulus cloud would be more bulbous in nature, kind of like this, and would be consistent all over the place like that. And the consistency of the cloud formation would be like that as well. But here we have some looser material happening, in the front of it that looks more just loosely, falling apart in front of it. And it's not a nice tight formation, like things would be in the past. Anyhow, that aside, look to the right of this thing. We're going to be looking at this in more detail. We have something that is shooting off in its own direction and even banking and arcing back down in an opposite angle, where this overall assembly is supposed to be static or moving together across the sky. It's not doing that. We've got different momentum and inertia happening off to the right. So we're going to take a look at more detail and with some enhancement. And look at this, we start to see, definitely rectangular or cylindrical objects, within this, what I'm going to call plasma. And that's going to be my go-to for calling cloaking material plasma, because it's got more density than cloud vapor. And it could be something else, but that's just how I'm going to name it going forward. Looks like there's plasma here too, with some darker objects happening in as well. And again, we don't just have like a sharp angle on some of these natural cloud assemblies. And then look over here, we've got this, I don't even know what to say, like this prong sticking out with something kind of level, and another prong, kind of symmetrical to this. So there's definitely some type of cloaking object happening beyond here as well. But let's zoom in on that right-hand side, and look, again, you just see this, and it looks like it's got its own little trail popping off. So is this just junk that some type of cloaking craft is sending off out, from it? Or, are these sensors or individual craft on their own right, going out exploring the atmosphere? I don't know. You decide on that one. Anyway, here's another example of strange cloud in quotes activity. Object launching. Here we go. We've got some loose plasma type material. Looks like it's, dissipating off of whatever this overall thing is. Again, it's not a windy day, and why would it only be doing it in this area? And then we've got this little object. Looks like it's popping off from there. So we're going to look at this with enhancement, and here we go. What's interesting about this is we've got a straight line. I know it's bitmappy, but hang in there with me on this. We've got a straight line of white, much whiter, let's just say, signature than what's happening beyond. And then this thing too, it's like a much whiter. And when I see anything that's pure white or crystalline and white happening, against a colorful cloud or a gray background, you can better believe that that is some type of cloaking craft, or is sometimes not so much cloaking, you can really see it. But in this case, it looks like some type of cloak over some objects. Again, is this a craft per se, or is this simply some type of sensor, that's heading out into the atmosphere? I don't know. See what you think. All right, in this case, we're looking south toward a sunset, and we've got some weird character happening with these clouds, also in how they're on angle, while other things are happening straight across. Also note, we've got pure white, something with looks like step-down edges to it. There's just the whole scene, something's just really off as far as it not being natural. There's also some stray plasma-like stuff happening, across the sky at the same time. So we're going to look at area A with enhancement. So we're going to look at 8.1 at the lower part of the screen. And what I started looking at is it looks like an imprint. So I covered that in other shows when an imprint is. Usually it's just like a darker void, a shape that's usually has geometry or symmetry to it that's being formed. You can see it by, plasma or tufted cloud happening around it. So that's what I thought was going on here. But we go up to 8.2 at the top of the screen, and here what I thought was the imprint also might be an object. So where my cursor is here, that might be an elongated triangular form. Or there could be multiple craft, or this is overall craft, because we've got these regular points happening here with shadow. If you look at, they're like little bullet points, raised on this edge. So to me, that has intelligent design going on in there, as well as this thing, beyond. But see what you think is happening. All right, also I forgot to mention that on any given photo, there's going to be a lot more going on than I call out. Just for time's sake, I like to keep a good running time on the overall show. So if you see other things happening in the photos that I have not addressed and you would like me to go in and enhance and talk about them in a little bit more in a future show, kindly just let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to do it. All right, so here we're going to be looking at A and B, and it's a pair of triangles. Both have a little bit of a different consistency to them, but they're undeniably triangles. So you see this, sharp edge, this angle, and here as well, you see the triangle. So we're going to study this in a little more detail with more enhancement and take a look. We've got like the Swiss cheese kind of nature of this thing, but still this kind of has like an intelligent character of these voids, that are divided by this thing. So let's have a look. We're going to just take a look with some different levels of enhancement, see what's going on. In this one, at 8.1, we have these like tufted, cloud or plasma forms, anchoring this overall shape. And it looks like one split off, another little triangle split off from it over here where my cursor is. So anyway, I'm not sure what's going on. This has more of an interdimensional feel. This has a more solid feel of something just completely covered by cloud or plasma. And we're going to look at it again, and you just see, a little more different character to these things. But to me, they're clearly two different types of cloaking craft. All right, now we're going to look at strange cloud and quote activity in objects, and this one gets interesting. So if you follow my cursor, what struck me here is these really white points, and they seem to be evenly distributed and kind of in an arc. And then this weird little offshoot happening up here also seems to have some white points in there. And at the same time, we've got this weird cloud structure, kind of more, maybe a little more wispy or painted looking, in nature. Looks like there's an imprint forming here, and this looks like a more solid piece here. So what is going on to have this, located right next to this? And again, this, look at it, it's got things on angle, okay? And they kind of echo each other, they're parallel. And some seem a little more solid, some seem to be covered by this more loose, cloaking material. So we're going to look at it with some enhancement, and here we go. Look at these bright white points. We're going to zoom in on them even more, and they're in here too. So to me, that's saying there's intelligent design going on in there. And then we got a darker object happening in here. It's a little bit fuzzy. Just a lot of strangeness happening in here. So I'm going to zoom in a little more and look at these things. There seems to be kind of no rhyme or reason to the shape of each one, but they do seem to be set apart in a regular pattern. So something is going on behind this thing for sure. This is my opinion anyway. Okay, now same phenomenon, but slightly different execution here. Look, we've got these white points happening, and you're going to see them here with the enhancement. We also have a little crystalline structure happening in here. So to me, this is a type of cloaking method, and in this case, we're just seeing the points pop up. And we also see an imprint over here. It looks like a triangular form happening. So there's all kinds of things in. Looks like the edge of an imprint happening here, maybe, or this overall thing up here. What's also strange and notable up in this photo is, look at this where my cursor is. What is that? We've got an even curve, very rigid curve happening here, and we have an angle here. And then we've got the tufted, material happening around it. So to me, that is undeniably some type of cloaking craft. That's just not a form that occurs in nature in a cloud. Okay, now this is just called strange cloud in quotes activity. What I've noticed is we've got an ethereal type of light and cloud phenomenon that happens occasionally, and it's something that you can really sense more than readily see right away. You kind of feel it coming. And in this case, it's like this ethereal white, blue, milky kind of consistency of this plasma that floats in, and then also the character and consistency of this quote-unquote cloud material happening beyond starts to develop. So if you look at the right-hand side, you can see it a little better. So like this milky, blue, white thing, material kind of drifts in. And then this is catching some red-pink signature also beyond. But look how choppy and feel it is. Whenever I talk about this, I refer to it in other cases as staccato clouds when you see it over a broader range of the sky where things just look choppy and out of focus. And usually to me that shows that there's some type of object happening locally and above cloaking material or cloud material that starts to give this choppy, hazy effect. And that means to me that there's electromagnetic wave activity happening above somewhere, or some other type of wave activity. All right, now look how beautiful this is. On the left is the original, and I notice this really coral peach, beautiful color starting to appear. What's interesting here is it's in a sunrise, but it's happening on the west, set to the southwest, opposite of where the sunrise is coming up. And what also is interesting is there's no way that sunrise could be creating this behind some of the other clouds. So if we look to the right, this beautiful color is emerging behind when, we've got some like gray bits of plasma or whatever that is happening in front. And so to me, this is like its own object is starting to glow and emanate this color. It even translates down a little bit further. Here in this pairing, we have sunrise. We're looking to the southeast, and we have this golden color. But if we look to the right at the enhanced version, look how scraggly and weird the consistency of this quote-unquote cloud is. We have some darker forms seems to be happening beyond here. So to me, this is just like cloaking material for other objects happening beyond. Look at this is pitched on an angle, has like an elliptical shape. This is another type of thing happening in here. To me, that's all cloaking craft. And then look at this split beyond the color signature, which is this beautiful like rust and mauves and whatever else plum colors you have going on in here. And the golden yellow. But then all of a sudden it turns bright white blue in the background. And also that's kind of in and of itself, that color signature was just kind of looking a little supernatural or a little non-natural, let's just say. And so we also have this kind of staccato cloud effect where it's all choppy. So to me it means there's something happening above here that's generating, this electromagnetic or other wave activity. Okay, this is interesting. This is our cover slide of the day, and again, it's strange cloud in quotes activity, color and objects. So again, it's this beautiful, color signature emerging, and then something that looks like it has a rigid pattern happening here, and it's all pitched on a very specific angle. So again, that just doesn't happen naturally in the sky with cloud formations. They usually, at least in decades past, would be very predictable and move across in an even motion. They never pitch down on an angle. So to me, this overall thing is some type of craft assembly. That little signature of the reddish, it even emits further beyond. So I think something is locally generating that color. It's not reflections or anything refracting in the sky from any other light sources. All right, this one is interesting. Again, a pairing of strange cloud activity. Just things kind of look choppy with weird light, popping up behind it, very bright white when we supposedly have the warmer signature of the morning popping up here. And so we put enhancement on it. We just see there's some kind of red-pink sphere happening beyond. Things are happening strange up in here. Something pitching on angle looks ellipsoidal in nature, like a little bit of a pointed ellipse happening here. So I'm going to say there is definitely cloaking craft happening up in the sky beyond here. Okay, this one gets interesting too. It's kind of got a very weird ripple effect on this overall thing. Again, looking very kind of choppy and disturbed up in there. So I'm saying to the right, if you look, there's some type of object happening here, and there's even a warm signature in the sphere, again, kind of like a red-pink sphere happening. With these bright white points kind of more regular formed, and these things coming down vertically while this is going across on an angle, and this is a little darker, character to it. So I'm saying this overall thing is some type of cloaking craft or multiple cloaking craft. If you look down here, we've got where my cursor is, these striations that echo each other, plus these look like separate little objects. So see what you think is going on. I'm calling that as cloaking objects. Now here it's also a little strange. You don't really see it to the naked eye. You can kind of see it if you're used to practice at looking at some of these things. I'm starting to pick them out after looking in the sky at the skies intensely for 2 years and actually all my life. But anyhow, look to the right on this one. We've got very clear egg shape. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, the color signature of the reddish plum is in a very distinct egg-like shape. And we've got all this choppiness plus very bright points happening amidst all of these darker striations. Oh, and look back here. It looks like a spherical form in white happening beyond. So there is a lot going on in here. And I'm saying that is cloaking craft. It could, again, be of interdimensional nature. Who knows? You see what you think. All right, this one's interesting too because on the left, with the naked eye, you could see that this looked like almost like a coffee stain on a photo, because it was like this coffee color, amber color, kind of weirdly moving through the sky. So with enhancement, we can see, there it is. It's really kind of, orangish in nature, kind of a sienna looking color. And then, bam, we get this burst of white, mixed with some reds and pinks once again. And again, a burst of white beyond here too. So to me, there's absolutely cloaking craft going on in there. And if you look at my cursor here, not only is there's a strange streak on an angle, but you start to see these 2 points. They look like they're part of a craft, little things poking out. They've got dimension and shadow to them. So see what you think is going on in that scene. All right, here's another one. Looks like maybe not too much going on at first glance, but then look where my cursor is. You're going to see a whole lot of activity coming. Started to see these regular, bright white spots like openings popping up, stuff with, design happening. Looks like intelligent design. So here we go. These are regular spacing and look like to be either, openings or lights. And then here too, these seem to be regular spacing going on. Looks like intelligent design. And we've got it, all sorts of staccato cloud, like I call it, and plasma activity happening all over the place. And we get, again, this red-pink signature, which seems to be accompanying these things. And then we got a blast of bright white above. So see what you think is going on with that one. I'm calling it cloaking object. All right, here's strange sunrises and quotes, light sources. So here we're looking off to the east at a sunrise, and normally we'd see like a burst of the sun activity coming up right around here, but now we see a very clear pronouncement of something else happening a little further off to the south. So here with enhancement you can see this would be the normal place where it's coming up. It's already obscured by some type of cloud activity. This even looks like a superimposed triangle in front of it. And then we get a much warmer, look at that deeper reds happening over here. But again, the sun is supposedly coming up over here. Then we see, just kind of strange clouds started to rush in. And on the left is the original, the right, we put some enhancement to see this, kind of more red-orange, color is popping up and even trailing up in strange ways in the sky. And then this looks like nothing, but it's the same sunrise. All of these clouds started to rush in all of a sudden. And then bam, look at this whole territory is covered up. And over here again was where the typical sunrise should be coming up. And then the secondary one we were looking over here. So this is a big swath, a wide range of this red, rusty kind of signature to be happening. It should really be, more concentrated over in one area. So what's going on with this one? And we just have strange patterning. This thing just came across in a very strange way. See what you think is going on there. All right, this one is also kind of bizarre with the cloud activity and light sources, because we look at the left and right away I just see these parallel or near parallel striations coming down. At the same time, something is coming across level. So again, if we just have a consistent airstream moving across, we wouldn't have all of this opposing motion. And then we look to the right, everything is choppy and staccato. So to me, there's definitely something up above generating this disturbance in the atmosphere. And again, it's either electromagnetic wave activity or some other type of frequency or wave activity. In this case, what's interesting is not only do we see these things just coming at all like weird angles and this coming across and even pitching down, but we also kind of see this golden orb beyond, so that probably, more than likely, is the cloaking object itself. Okay, this one's interesting. It's called Cloud in Quotes Pattern and Cloaking Sea Dragon in Quotes. This is a little bit of cloud play, but noticing on the original you see these definite parallel striations, which again don't normally occur in a natural cloud, a natural sky cloud patterning system. And then it moves up, and then there's the actual circle with a void around it, and something else happening here. So you better believe we're going to look at it with enhancement. Here we go, and I just see a nice little sea dragon or sky dragon, whatever you want to call it. But here would be the head, more of like a triangular shaped head with a little open mouth and two eyes and ears. And these would be wings happening beyond. And then as you would go down, these would be ribs of this dragon and the belly, the underbelly. Maybe that's the heart shining there, or some of the little orb that it's captured. And this would be the tail beyond. So anyway, that's a little bit of cloud play. But as we look in more detail, look at this. We've got triangular patterns forming in there. And there's just a whole lot of question marks going on with this one. So see what you think is going on. Okay, and this one is just strange cloud activity once again in illumination. So this time we are looking to the north, slightly northwest. And what was strange is that this was happening in the afternoon, where we would not have a burst of brightness happening off in this direction, and yet there was. And there's also just a strange ethereal feel to some of this stuff. And so we look to the right and we see exactly where this is happening. We get these strange color bursts of almost like a white LED, just like a really pure white light with a little bit of a blue tinge to it. Just seems very supernatural or otherworldly. And we see these burn spots of where it's happening. And again, there's no sun in this direction, so it's very uncharacteristic to have this happening, in the sky in this direction. Anyway, you start to see other little objects poking out, things with deeper densities in here. So have a look and see what you think is going on. I just wanted to document it because it's very odd. All right, speaking of odd, here's another grouping. This huge, massive cloud assembly started welling up in the sky. But what was interesting is not only all the different kinds of movement happening within it, but it was also this here where we're looking at area A. And we're going to look at 8.1 just to kind of see the capture what's going on here. So, nothing else about this cloud system would suggest something would just burst off like this, So we're going to take a look at it in a little more detail and look at 8.2 and 3 of that area. And we've got this movement, this strong movement, peeling off this way. And this looks like an object, cloaking object. So we see points, like a rectangular form to it. There might be something also peeling off here as well in that trajectory. But see what you think is going on. There's also something strange forming down here. Okay, this one I've just labeled all over the place. Just points of interest to take a look at. Do have a look at this maybe a little bit longer on your own time, but we'll look at it with some enhancement. I'll just point out just very quickly what I see. So we've got a curved element here with a straight edge. To me, that's an object. Okay, at B.1, this also looks like some type of object hiding in here, maybe with a little tail, like a fishtail type shape to it. C1 looks like a triangular form and shadow there. D.1 is some other spherical thing with something hanging off of it. Looks very strange. F1 is triangular in nature, maybe even like an arrow, coming down. E.1 has a triangular shape, and it echoes another triangular shape beyond. So something is moving this way, creating this, is going before it, or whatever. And then G.1 looks like a fish diving down with maybe the tail up here. So there's just a whole bunch of strange going on in this photo. And there's more than, like this little element back here looks very fish-like as well. Something happening in here. So just, in here too. So just see what you think is going on. Oh, and also if you have any fun angles of what you do see in any of these images and just want to share for fun or, or even more serious discussion, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, here's another one where I've labeled a few elements. I'm only going to touch on a few of them, though, in the enhanced version, and such as 8.1. That has a definite shape to it, tucked in this cloud or cloaking material. This, too, actually, I didn't label it. Look at the others, too, on your own and see what you see. But D.1 really fascinates me. Look at this thing. It looks like a fish, heading upward with the tail going back this way. And it has a totally different character. Look at the color signature. It's very icy, cool, and blue. While everything else has a warm signature to it. So to me, this is definitely some type of craft, interdimensional or otherwise, cloaking up in there. Okay, now this is a panorama of strange cloud activity once again. The bottom is the original, the top is the enhanced version. What's interesting here is that we're looking from the northeast to the southeast, so again, eastern side, at a sunset. So all of the bursts of color signature was happening off to the east, while virtually nothing apparent was happening to the west to show any of that color. So I do believe that this was generating its own light. And we're going to see that coming up. So I'm zooming in a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit mappy on some of these, but you can see, a wedge shape. To me, that's some type of craft in there, and this as well. This might be one as well, and something else that's happening in here that looks very suspect to be Cloaking Craft, and up here as well. Then we're going to look at that same thing. It looks like it's generating its own light because it's happening behind here. And again, there was nothing opposing on the west horizon to be generating light from behind. And then we get this strange, movement. This cloud kind of doglegs up, and strange stuff's happening here. It's going to get more apparent in the upcoming views of this thing. Anyway, we just see kind of a reddish signature happening around a bright, again, this looks to be like illuminating itself because it's much lighter in character. And if it were reflecting off of something, beyond, it would all be the same, kind of color character. Again, this thing is swinging up this way. There's some weird movement happening off to here. Looks like the corner of an imprint happening over here. There's weird stuff happening below, but it just gets stranger. We're going to look at it again in this view with enhancement. Look at all this activity. This looks like a clear shape happening in here, or overall shape here. This thing's coming down this way. This thing's floating up that way. This is, got a sharp edge to it this way. It just looks to me like a ton of Cloaking Craft hiding all in this thing, here as well. And then look at this. We've got this thing, looks like an edge or a platform of something. And then this is shooting straight up. So that looks like an ellipse going, nearly straight up. So you can't have all this movement, especially a dog leg up with natural cloud activity. Here's an imprint happening up here as well. And we got the staccato nature once again, where everything's choppy and blurry, implying that there is something generating either within here or above it, some electromagnetic waves or other frequency waves to make that all choppy. Then we're going to look at it again, a couple more views of this thing. Again, just to see the character, how things are moving. And we've got this, pitching downward. This looks like it's connected and kind of, this body is floating off this way. And look at the way this is tufting and trailing upward. And this has like a greenish tinge to it. And down here too. And everything else has warmer, color right here at kind of the source of it all. All right, now this is looking to the opposite horizon west at the same time, and you don't see anything to be generating all that vibrant color in that cloud system back behind to the east. So instead we get this. So what the heck is going on? These weird little tracings. So we're going to take a look in more detail. And as we do, pardon the background noise, there's somebody with lawn equipment around me. Recording outside today, so I hope you can listen through it. Anyway, look at this. We start to see that wonderful little red-pink sphere happening beyond. Again, it looks like it's partially veiled by some other colors or, stuff in the atmosphere is trying to veil it. But then we get this weird backlighting effect on whatever this stuff is. But it looks like it has, like this one's triangular in form. This is splintering off this way while this is jutting up this way. And again, if you have a consistent breeze source going along, you're not going to see this explosion of activity in all different directions. So what the heck is going on? We're going to look at 8.2 and zoom in a little bit more. See something like darker here. It seems like it has structure to it. This too. This looks like it's got some plasma material trying to, hide whatever's going on in there. And this just angles upward. Looks like there's a triangular form hiding there as well. And we'll look at it with more enhancement. We see little edges and shadows happening. So to me, this is a whole bunch of like little craft, some bigger craft, cloaking in here. Then we come to another scene looking south. And in this case, look at this smooth line. Hey, I'm back. This smooth line kind of arcing gently, and then this thing looks like it's an appendage or an attachment on top. And then we have this like weird streaks and things kind of splintering off this way. Well, there's like a bigger supposed cumulus form happening beyond. So it just looked really strange, something worth looking at with enhancement. And then here we go. We've got some warmer sit tones happening down below. And we have like, this looks like a very pronounced symmetrical object, almost like a half moon, poking up this way. And then look at this stuff. It definitely looks like it's flying off, with movement to it and trajectory. And then we got some bright white points, which is always my telltale sign when we see bright white amidst, something darker or only color, that there's something intelligent design nature happening in there. And then again, this just looks like a clear object sitting on top of another object, which has intelligent design to it. Okay, this is another example of strange cloud activity. And we've got this time, this kind of ring-like effect happening around this thing. And all kinds of strange shapes. Once again, this looks like it has something trailing off from it. So we're definitely going to look at this with enhancement. We see my really telltale white points popping up in here. So that tells me there's something cloaking in here beyond. Triangular shape kind of poking up in here. So anyway, I invite you to look at this more in your own time. There's just a lot of strange stuff happening. Even this darker thing kind of swooping down this way. And while this looks like it's, spraying off and jettisoning off or shooting off this way, it's just all very, very strange. Even this little object, look at that. Looks like it has a trail, and it's just like being catapulted out of there. Here's another one, more strange cloud activity. We've got this dark streak. It looks like something's, splintering off, shooting off from there. Well, we have this whiter, puffier cloud activity beyond and something happening in front of it. So we're going to look at that again with some enhancement, and we just see all kinds of strange, once again, brighter points, more crystalline white points, just strange movement happening in this thing and all over the place. All right, and then we come to strange lightning activity, and this is looking east. Again, after that sunset, and that's kind of the same remnants of that cloud assembly that was turning looked like it was generating its own color. And as we start, that's with on the left-hand side is no lightning. To the right, we get this little crack, but the overall flash was really strange. Again, it didn't seem like natural lightning. It just illuminated the whole thing in a very unnatural kind of LED white fashion. And then we go down and look further, and it also split, did digital tricks, on the camera, making it look like, some kind of weird split screen, where part of it would be dark and then darken as it moved across as this thing flashed. And again, with normal lightning, you would see the bolt, and you would see a different pattern, not this entire thing illuminating pretty evenly with a very artificial seeming light. Okay, this one gets interesting. It's cloud activity once again with a pointed elliptical object. And here at A is our pointed elliptical object we're going to spend more focus on. But there's also strange movement happening all over the place in here. We'll look at it with enhancement. So we kind of lose our elliptical object, but it's going to come back again in some other views. But look at the turbulent, nature of this, kind of billowing this way. We have little bits and pieces of things that look like they could be Cloaking Craft, little, fragments of things moving across. And then here's our pointed ellipse we're going to zoom in on and look at this in a little more with more enhancement. And here we go. So we just see this perfect shape, near perfect shape. You wouldn't see that just happening in nature when you look at everything going on around it. And we even have this band of brighter white activity echoing and tufted material echoing over here. And we get a little bright white spot over here as well. Everything down here, is nothing like what's happening here. We have this little weird fragment moving this way, darker objects happening back this way. I'm going to call it Cloaking Craft. All right, this is strange too. We've got echoing bands here parallel to each other, and just some strange movement and light happening in this one. So we're going to look at it with enhancement, and you just see little clearly formed bodies and different movement happening in here. Also more golden light, turns whiter up above. Just something strange about it I wanted to document. Speaking of strange, I wanted to document this as well. So look at this thing. It just seemed to like swoop down, out of the sky toward this direction. And to me, clearly there's something interdimensional happening in here, because again, we've got the telltale choppiness and weird light source from beyond and the shape of it. And then here in this scene, we're looking at triangular shapes at imprints. So excuse me one second. Okay, on the left, just clear triangular shapes being, as an imprint, with the border plasma or something creating the shape, and then this weird little object sticking up in the middle of this whole scene. So we look to the right with enhancement. We see all levels of things. Something's going on in here. This line kind of echoes several times over this way. This has a like straight shelf-like feel. This little object standing alone, It looks like a sharp edge here in this imprint beyond. Look at these angles, these right angles or splayed angles here. So there's definitely something going on in this little shape over here. See what you think. Okay, and then this is just strange cloud activity. This thing seemed to trail out of the sky, this big wide swath, and then it almost had like an arrow tip to it. So if you look at the right, you can see what I'm talking about. And then it has like this light pink, pale pink signature to it, while everything else down here is glowing more golden. And so this seemed to be its own animal, a little bit of crystalline structure happening in here. And again, just seemed to be moving this way, with a point down here. So we're going to look at it the opposite end of it, away from where the thing was diving with a point. This was at the end. So is this some type of like portal this thing emerged out of and then started diving down? Or is this just something standalone? I don't know. But we'll look at it in a little more detail. Looks like it has structure to it for sure. And then we'll look at it again, just zoomed in, just to see what could be going on. Don't really get too much more out of it, but I do feel like this is almost a pointed ellipse, in form here if you really look at the overall thing. Let's see what you think. All right, well, this is the photo of the week and the close of the show. It's a nice white ibis standing on a fence. So I want to thank you for standing by here a while and observing some things with me. It is Monday, so at least where I'm at. So a happy, beautiful week ahead to everybody, and an extra happy now. Hope you're having a gorgeous day or evening wherever you are in the world. And in the meantime, I wish you tremendous peace and love. Take care, everyone. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.